Hi, my name is Grace, and I'll be reading Micawber by John Lithgow. This book is about a squirrel who lives in Central Park in New York City, and he loves art and painting. And so this is just kind of a story about how he gets to paint and look at the art in the museum.
Micawber by John Lithgow, illustrated by C.F. Payne. One Sunday in springtime, Micawber arose from his Central Park carousel nest. He straightened his whiskers and polished his nose and set off for the place that he loved best. He scampered past pigeons and poodles and geese, past boathouse and bandshell and zoo, past joggers and skaters and mounted police, to a palace on Fifth Avenue. For inside was a splendid collection of art, a sight for a squirrel to treasure, a feast every week for his eyes and his heart, which Micawber could savor at leisure. Through windows he'd gaze at Van Dyck and Van Gogh, appraise every Rembrandt and Titian. He would scrutinize Rubens, peruse each Rousseau, inspect each Lautrec and Cassatt and Mirbeau. He would find a new favorite each time he would go, and nobody charged him admission. But a stranger appeared on this particular day. As Micawber peered down through a skylight, she stood at an easel beneath a Monet that depicted a haystack at twilight. Micawber observed her for hours on end, as she copied each texture and shade. He noted the stroke of each brush she'd extend, the rare concentration and care she'd expend. She'd become his unwitting and unknowing friend by the time the day started to fade. So he hid in the box where her paints were all stowed, when she bicycled home unaware. Then he sneaked himself into her modest abode, as she hauled her equipment upstairs. From the box after midnight the stowaway crept, stretched his limbs, and adjusted his eyes, and while his beguiler contentedly slept, he rifled through all of her supplies. Micawber's dull life, with its tedious toils, all at once seemed 100 times duller, as he straddled the palette and squeezed out some oils and discovered the wonders of color. He daubed at a canvas with cadmium green, employing his tail as a brush, then magenta and vermilion, ultramarine, alizarian crimson, and bright tangerine. Such a radiant rainbow he had never seen, so splashy and lavish and lush. By morning, Micawber was finally done, and so proud that he practically fainted. He'd been looking at paintings from day number 1, but never a painting he'd painted. As the sunlight poured in, he was ready to go, leaving everything just as he'd found it. Through the transom he scrambled, his canvas in tow, rolled up with a shoelace tied around it. A truck trundled by as Micawber alit. On the side it said Park Sanitation. He bounded aboard it, ignoring the grit,
and completed his peregrination.
He returned 30 times by the following fall, and the paintings poured forth like a geyser. He'd fastened them all to his living room wall, and the woman was never wiser. So if some July you should chance to pass by a Viridian Central Park dale, look around for a squirrel with a gleam in his eye and some paint on the tip of his tail. And if you should visit the old carousel, look at its uppermost part. Inside, although nobody ever could tell, a talented squirrel continues to dwell. If you try, you can picture it, clear as a bell. Micawber's Museum of Art. The end.